Darren Rovell with Collect TV here with hobby veteran Simeon Lipman, and we are talking about the reinstating of a bunch of guys by Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred, namely Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson, with the commentary that if they're no longer living, they can no longer hurt the integrity of the game, uh, adding a new meaning to lifetime ban. A literal meaning. So with this said, let's talk about what people do who collect Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson. Should you get into them now? Should you not? I mean, my main thought is on Pete Rose. Obviously, Simeon, he signed the most autographs of anyone. He thinks he did himself. I think he said he surpassed Bob Feller, which,
That's a hard thing to do, but yes, he probably did.
yeah. So the value in his autograph, who knows? It was shocking that when he died less than a year ago, that there actually was a bump in his autographs. We haven't seen much now. Shoeless Joe, that Cracker Jack card, the 1914 Cracker Jack card, has really skyrocketed in the past year. So there's a lot of economics that happen and other factors that happen besides this. But if they were now getting reinstated with the idea that they now will be in the Hall of Fame, what say you on what could be more valuable?
Well, first, let's talk about the Hall of Fame. I'm not quite sure they're going to get in the Hall of Fame. I think Pete has a shot. There's still a lot of people and a lot of people in baseball who don't like Pete, and I've heard that. I love the guy. I know you looked at what the Reds did the other night and or last night, and I mean it was incredible. So I mean the adoration is there. But there's still, some anti-Rose sentiment for sure. Now, with Rose stuff, he's been one of the most popular players in baseball memorabilia, since the business really started, right? He
Yeah,
was,
well, he was, when it started, let's say 78, 79, 80, he was there and he was fully Charlie Hustle.
he was Charlie Hustle, and his rookie card at the time was one of the most valuable
Yeah,
cards
top
in the
10,
world.
that 1963,
Three,
4. Yeah.
63.
Yeah.
Um, which legitimately is a tough card because it's in a short printed part of the set. But um, you know, that's already happened. I mean, there's a well-established market for his memorabilia. And as you said, I mean, he signed more than anybody. So you're never going to not be able to get a Pete Rose signature, right?
And Shoeless Joe was illiterate, maybe.
Well, yeah. There aren't too many autographs of him for sure. And the thing with Shoeless Joe, I don't think they're going to let him in. I think he deserves to be in, obviously, but I mean, he did take the gambler's money, and whether he didn't throw the games or not,
Right.
it doesn't matter. He still broke the all-time cardinal rule. So, that's an issue. I don't think he's getting in, but I think part of his attraction to collectors was that mystique, was that, he's banned for life, banned forever. And then,
Both of them.
yeah,
Both of them.
yeah,
There was some, although Pete told me, last year that it's cost him millions and millions of dollars not getting in the Hall of Fame. He's the best player not in the Hall of Fame.
right,
And that also has marketing value. And that also allows someone to say, I'm going to collect Pete Rose. I identify with the rebel. I identify with the outsider. And
yeah.
so if he's not the outsider, that might change a little bit. Could it hurt him?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he's always going to be the outsider. I think that was part of his, what made him so attractive to people was that he was different than everybody else. You could kind of, feel him like you could feel like a friend of yours, like the neighbor down the street. He was like that guy, but the best baseball player in the world. Um, I don't think that's going to change. I think I don't, again, if he gets in the Hall of Fame, I think there'll be jubilation. I don't think you're going to see a huge spike in his memorabilia at all. No, I don't.
Okay, now let's go to what this market does a lot, which is speculate. And the idea that, oh, now there's going to be a steroid wing, or there's going to be a wing that understands the era of steroids, like the
Mhm.
dead ball era, like whatever. Like there's a new standard here, and bad guys can get in. Now, Manfred obviously said, well, they're dead, so they can't hurt the integrity of the game. These steroid guys are not, but they're not playing still. So do you think this opens up any lane for the Clemens, the Bonds, the McGuires of the world? And is that a move that collectors should make?
I think it's apples and oranges. Um, Personally, I think there will be a time pretty soon when all those guys are going to get in because
They have to.
they
They have
have
to because
they have
even
to.
the Hall of Fame as a business, and you have a home in Cooperstown, like even the Hall of Fame as a business cannot keep letting guys in when like the weekends are just awful. It's
Well, I mean, you can't have mediocre players going in when the greatest player of all time, maybe the greatest pitcher of all time, are sitting there, and there are guys who definitely did steroids who are in. You can't do that. It doesn't, make sense, and it's not fair, and it's not fair to the fans who grew up with these guys. So I think that's going to happen. And I do think when that does happen, you will see a spike with those guys. You'll see a spike with Clemens. You're already starting to see stuff with Bonds. That stuff, because of the steroids and because of everything else, their market's depressed a lot. I mean, those guys were the hottest guys in the market for years. But certainly, for the past few years, you could pick up their stuff relatively affordably. I think if that ever happens, that's going to blow up big time.
last question. Does putting HOF at the end of your signature mean as much as it always did?
I don't know. That's a good question. They've let in a lot of
That's the problem for me,
they've let
right?
in a
Like
lot of borderline guys.
Harold Baines really hurt me very bad.
Scott Rowland, great player.
Scott Rowland.
Todd Helton, great player.
Yeah.
These guys were great, but they're not immortals, and the Hall of Fame. And look, it's not the first time they've done this. They did that in the 70s when they in the Veterans Committee were letting in all their old buddies and who, probably didn't deserve to go in, or definitely didn't deserve to go in when you look at the statistics. But they're there. So it happened. I think they need to correct now by getting the best players of the era in the Hall of Fame. I think that needs to happen soon.
Simeon Lipman, thanks so much for joining us on Collect TV.
Always a pleasure, buddy.